Hello everyone, AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink, and we made it. It is video 25 of my Christmas card series for 2017. So I wanted to use the three newest picture book characters from Simon Says Stamp. I have the polar bear, the hippo, and the moose wafer dies, and I'm using my little sidekick. I am absolutely loving my sidekick for doing when I need to do multiple small die cuts. This thing is a dream. It just makes it so much easier, and you guys are going to see more and more of these little picture book characters from me because it's so much easier to quickly run these through and do all the little pieces and whatnot. I just used a variety of scraps of cardstock, and then I'm going to use some pattern paper to give all of them little sweaters. I just got the Lawn Fawn Nitpicky 6x6 pattern paper that they had released with their fall and winter collection. And the minute it showed up, I was like, I need to get some little critters wearing sweaters with this stuff. So that's what I did. So I'm using the pattern paper for the little sweaters, and then the scarves are from the picture book SNOWMAN set. It has a little separate scarf die, so I die cut some red cardstock with that. And for the polar bear, I adhered it so then it covers up the straight edge of the pattern paper. And then for the hippo, I'm using the outline left over of the scrap cardstock. It just kind of makes it a little bit easier to adhere all the pieces. So I'm going to adhere kind of the base first. And I prefer doing that, even though I'm going to cover that part with the pattern paper, like his sweater as well. But it just gives it a little more weight because I do plan on popping everything up with foam tape. You could skip this step, like I'm adhering everything like I've done previously onto just some copy paper and then undercutting it so that these images are adhered to that and then they're separate, because I am planning on popping them up with foam tape. However, you could easily just adhere these right directly onto your card or tag or whatever it is you're making. But I like the, ability to kind of move them around and pop them up with foam tape, etc. So that's why I'm adhering mine to copy paper. So with the hippo, I adhered his body and then the pattern paper and then another die cut scarf. And the scarf I had popped up a little bit more, and then I adhered the front of his face so it went over the scarf. I love how this one turned out. He was so cute. And then I'm going to adhere the little dots for his eyes that I die cut from scraps of black cardstock. And then again, I'm going to trim this out with scissors. And the whole time with these, I make sure not to apply adhesive all the way to the very edges so that I can easily undercut this with my scissors. And honestly, it takes no time at all. Because you don't have to worry about the copy paper, being a nice clean cut, because no one's going to see it in the end anyway. So I just cut it so that you can't see it past the edges of these little characters, and that there's enough just to hold everything in place. So really quick, really simple. So now I've got a little hippo wearing a scarf and a polar bear wearing a scarf. I was having so much fun making these. So once I did those two, I now need to get to the moose. I had so many requests for this one. I was so excited to get this one because being Canadian, moose is just a Canadian thing, really. Just moose themed things. So anyway, die cut him from, again, a bunch of just random little scraps of cardstock. And this one, I needed to use a different style of scarf because that wide one isn't going to work because he's much narrower. So I used the scarf from the Deer picture book set. And same thing, that scarf's actually almost a little too narrow, but I made it work regardless. So I adhered the body, and then I adhered the pieces for his sweater right on top of it. And then I used the negative space again, just to help me kind of line up how I was going to make this scarf work. And added a little bit of adhesive, stuck that into place, and then I was able to adhere, the components of his face right on top of that, so it all layers and looks proper like it should be. So once I got his face adhered, I kept the his antlers completely separate because I just didn't want to fiddle cutting these out, and I have a way around that. Again, if you were adhering this directly to your card, you'd save yourself a lot of trouble, but this actually didn't take a whole lot of extra time. So I got his little face adhered and his little tiny ears, and then I'm going to trim that out, and again, didn't take very long at all to trim out with my scissors. I was off camera when I did it, so I don't have proper footage of that. But I left off the antlers, and I was going to originally just adhere them like directly behind his head, so they'd be a little bit shorter than they were meant to be. But while I was doing this, I was like, I could just create a little, like, basically a brace using a tiny little strip of cardstock. So that's what I did. So I got this little strip of cardstock. I'm going to flip over my little moose here. And then same thing, I'm going to flip over those antlers. So I have just the back of everything facing up. And then I can apply adhesive in a line across the back of the antlers and his head and then the second antler. And then that way I can adhere this little brace that I've created. And then that way it's all adhered, all looks seamless, and then I'll be able to pop this up with the foam tape, and you're not going to be able to see, like, you know, it's quite messy on the back with the copy paper and just everything. But now I have my 3 little characters, and they're in sweaters and scarves, and it just made me happy. So I wanted to go all out. I'm still kind of thinking, like, you know, ugly sweater theme in a way. So I wanted little stars to add to his antlers. I thought that'd be so cute. So I actually used the Swirling Star Trail die because it has a ton of tiny, tiny little stars. And then I also used the picture book Santa die cut, and I just die cut the Santa hat. So I created a little hat because I wanted to add that to the polar bear just because it's adorable. And the stars, I just die cut from a scrap of yellow cardstock. And I decided to add the largest one right to his sweater, and then adhered all the smaller ones randomly throughout his antlers. I just thought that would be so cute. My original idea, I wanted to do little, like, Christmas lights, but I didn't have a die that was small enough, and I didn't feel like fussy cutting a ton of little Christmas lights. That just would have taken too long, so I settled for the stars. So I'm just using my jewel picker to pick up all these little tiny star die cuts. I had little dabs of adhesive and then pressing that into place with my little Marvy jewel picker. So once I've got all of those adhered, I'm going to go on and start creating the rest of my card. So for the background of my card, I'm using more of that nitpicky pattern paper because I love it, and I wanted to kind of really bring in this whole sweater themed. So I had used the largest of the Simon Says Wonky Rectangles wafer dies, and I die cut one of the red pattern papers. And then I also die cut one of the white pattern papers with that, and then die cut it again with the nested Talk Bubbles dies. And then I have this older Merry Christmas script die from Simon. This came out, I can't even remember if it was last year or the year before. But I die cut some green cardstock with that, and then I adhered it onto that talk bubble. And then I backed all that with some of the Simon Says foam tape. So made sure to completely cover the back of this with the foam tape, and then I'm going to pop it onto the background. And the reason I die cut the white pattern paper with the Wonky Rectangles die first before I use the speech bubble is so it has that stitched edge, so it's kind of seamless as it goes all around my card front. And then all of my little characters I also backed with foam tape, and then I'm going to pop them onto my card. And I got a little ahead of myself here and realized after I'd pressed the hippo down that I wanted the polar bear behind him. So I've very carefully kind of peeled him up. Very careful. This stuff's pretty strong and will pretty much tear your cardstock. But I was able to peel him up so I could slip that little polar bear in there. And then I have all my little characters adhered into place. And then for the inside of my card, I die cut another one of the white pattern papers with the Wonky rectangle die. And then I used one of Fawn's simple gift card slot dies to die cut the little slots on either side of that, and made sure not to apply any adhesive behind those because I want those to pop up a little bit. And I just happen to have this fun little, like, ugly sweater themed gift card in my stash. I thought that would be so cute for this card. So I slipped that into the inside, and that finished the inside because the rest of the space is left to write a message. And then I'm going to adhere the card front to my card base. And then, of course, I had to use up the remaining die cut stars because I didn't want to just toss them. I usually will keep things like that with the package, but they were sitting there and I thought they'd be kind of cute to stick around the sentiment. So I adhere those into place, and then this final bit of embellishment, I pulled out my stickles, which I haven't used in forever, but yellow stickles because they're all yellow and glittery. So I added those to all the stars for some sparkle. And then I pulled out my frosted lace stickles, which isn't really sparkly. It's more just white glitter. I thought that would be just cute to add to the Santa hat. And then I ended up adding it to the antlers and to the kind of the top of the hippo's head because it looks kind of like snow. So added all of that just to give it that little extra something something. And then as a final little touch, I pulled out my Glossy Accents and added little dabs to their eyes and to the polar bear's nose, so it's going to have some shine, and that's going to finish off this card. So this was number 25 in my Christmas card series. I had so much fun. Not sure if I'm going to get any more Christmas cards done this year because obviously we are right up to the day. However, there is a giveaway at the end of this video. It will be on my blog. And stay tuned. I've been saying it in the last couple of videos. Stay tuned. Make sure you hit the bell notification beside the subscribe button here on YouTube next to my channel. You want to be notified. I am going to be uploading on Christmas Day and every day this coming week. I have a ton of giveaways. This is just the beginning. So I have the polar bear, the hippo, and the moose dies. I had purchased these before I realized Simon also sent them to me. So I'm giving them away to one of you. Like I said, I will have a link below the video to my blog post. There will be a giveaway in the blog post, so you can check that out if you're interested. Thank you all so much for watching and thumbs upping and commenting on my videos. I appreciate it so very much. I have so much fun doing what I do, and I will see you all very soon in another video. Bye.